รายการต่อไปนี้เป็นรายการทั่วไปสามารถรับชมได้ทุกวัย
สนับสนุนโดยแลกเงินด้วยบัตรเครดิตกสิกรไทยเที่ยวก่อนจ่ายทีหลังไม่มีค่าธรรมเนียมผ่อนชำระได้จากธนาคารกสิกรไทย
สวัสดีค่ะวันที่ 23 มิถุนายน 2559 ถือเป็นอีกหนึ่งหน้าประวัติศาสตร์สำคัญของโลกเมื่อผลการลงประชามติ Brexit ออกมาว่าสหราชอาณาจักรจะออกจากการเป็นสมาชิกสหภาพยุโรปหรือ EUผลของการลงประชามติครั้งนี้ส่งผลกระทบมากมายตลาดทุนตลาดเงินทั่วโลกผันผวนนายกรัฐมนตรีเดวิดคาเมรอนประกาศลาออกมีคนจำนวนมากไม่พอใจเรียกร้องอยากจะให้มีการลงประชามติรอบ 2และสกอตแลนด์อยากลงประชามติแยกตัวออกจากสหราชอาณาจักรเพราะสกอตแลนด์ยังอยากอยู่ต่อกับ EU ต่อไปอนาคตของสหราชอาณาจักรจะเป็นอย่างไรฟังคำตอบจากท่านเอกอัครราชทูตอังกฤษประจำประเทศไทยไบรอัน เดวิดสันค่ะเมื่อวันที่ 23 มิถุนายนประชาชนอังกฤษราว 17.4 ล้านคนหรือคิดเป็น 51.9% ของผู้ลงคะแนนเสียงทั้งหมดลงคะแนนให้สหราชอาณาจักรออกจากสหภาพยุโรปหรือ EU ชนะคะแนนเสียง 16.1 ล้านคนหรือคิดเป็น 48.1% ที่ต้องการให้อยู่ต่อจำนวนผู้ใช้สิทธิ์ครั้งนี้สูงถึง 72% หรือกว่า 30 ล้านคนนับเป็นจำนวนที่มากที่สุดสำหรับการใช้สิทธิ์ของคนในสหราชอาณาจักรนับตั้งแต่ปี 1992 หลังผลการลงประชามตินายกรัฐมนตรีเดวิดคาเมรอนประกาศลาออกซึ่งจะมีผลในเดือนตุลาคมและผู้นำคนใหม่จะทำหน้าที่เจรจาต่อรองกับ EU เพื่อแยกตัวในขณะที่ทางสหภาพยุโรปต้องการให้อังกฤษเริ่มต้นกระบวนการเจรจาเพื่อแยกตัวออกจาก EU ตามข้อกำหนดมาตรา 50 ของสนธิสัญญาลิสบอนให้เร็วที่สุดโดยมีเวลา 2 ปีในการเจรจาเงื่อนไขต่างๆและจะเป็นครั้งแรกในประวัติศาสตร์ EU ที่มีประเทศสมาชิกถอนตัวออกไป
Ambassador Davidson, were you shocked with the result of the referendum?
Well, I think it was probably a surprise to a lot of people. Obviously, knowing how close the referendum had been in the run-up, I think it was probably a surprise to a lot of people, both that the vote was so close, but also that the Leave side won. But I think shock is probably, I guess you prepare yourself for either result, knowing that it's a close result.
Did you vote?
I voted, yes. I voted by postal vote, so I had voted in advance.
And you voted Remain?
That's a personal matter, how I vote. Now, in the UK, it's a personal matter for people how they vote. And obviously, it was probably the biggest democratic exercise in the UK's history, 33 million people voting. It's quite an extraordinary event. And to have such a high turnout of the voting population says something about the democratic tradition in the United Kingdom. And I think, most people would say that, the campaign is over. The vote has been cast. A majority of the people have voted that the United Kingdom should exit the European Union. And the task now for all of us is to come together and work out the best way to implement the will of the people, both for government and indeed for officials who serve the government and Her Majesty the Queen.
Why do you think Leave campaign won?
I think it's very difficult to say, and I think actually if it will take a number of weeks or months to work through a lot of the analysis. And as you yourself will know from looking at news coverage in the United Kingdom, I think there are many factors around the opinions of British people, around immigration, around the economy, around their sense of relationship with the political establishment. So I don't think anyone is really able to tell you why. The fact is, more people turned out and voted to leave the European Union than to remain. And, we must now respect the will of the majority, and it's the job of the government to implement that in the best possible way.
เหตุผลสำหรับฝ่ายที่สนับสนุนให้สหราชอาณาจักรออกจาก EU คือการต้องทำตามกฎระเบียบมากมายของ EU การต้องเสียเงินจำนวนมากในการเป็นสมาชิกและปัญหาผู้อพยพที่หลั่งไหลเข้ามาเป็นจำนวนมากเนื่องจากข้อกำหนดในการเปิดรับผู้อพยพของ EU เป็นต้น
Is immigration the main issue?
I'm not sure whether it's the main issue. I mean, I think it was one of the issues raised during the campaign, along with a sense of over-regulation and possibly a sense of budgetary controls. And I think it's perceptions around immigration more than the fact of immigration. And I would say that, irrespective of what has been said in the press and during the campaign, I mean, Britain remains a multi-faith, multi-ethnic society, welcoming to people, whether it's to travel, to work, to study, to invest, and I don't think that has changed. And so I would say while it was a factor in the debate, it's hard to say what was the main issue impacting on voters' choices.
As a British diplomat, how would you explain the result of this referendum to the Thai people?
We believe in a democratic tradition in Britain. The question of Britain's participation in the European Union has been an issue on people's minds for many, many years. And the Prime Minister decided that it was right that on an issue of such huge significance and importance to the United Kingdom, to the people of the United Kingdom, that the people should be given a choice in how that membership or participation of Britain in Europe was taken forward. And therefore he called a referendum. The challenge now for everyone is to come together and to work out what the best way of implementing that decision is. And there will need to be a series of negotiations with the other 27 remaining members of the European Union about what the relationship between Britain and those countries within the European Union should be. Nobody can tell you exactly what that will look like, but what I can tell you is that the government is committed to maintaining the United Kingdom as an open, outward-looking, innovative, modern economy, welcoming to those who want to invest in and to invest in the creativity of the United Kingdom. And that won't change.
So what next for the UK? Wait? We just have to wait for a new Prime Minister?
Well, we won't have to wait very long. The Prime Minister has set a timetable within the Conservative Party. As you know, potential leaders are making their candidacy known this week, and I think they have announced that by September the process to elect a new leader of the Conservative Party will be complete, and therefore there will be a new Prime Minister. The current Prime Minister, Mr Cameron, has said he will stay on for 3 months until that transition has taken place, until a new Prime Minister is in place at the Party Congress in the autumn. So there is stability in that sense. So you won't have to wait very long.
3 months is pretty long in this age of globalization, and the uncertainty is so big right now. The whole world is waiting.
Well, I think I think that overstates the uncertainty. I mean, there will undoubtedly be uncertainty for the next 2 years until we know exactly what the terms of Britain's exit from the EU is. There will remain an element of uncertainty. I think what the Prime Minister has done, what the Chancellor of the Exchequer has done, and what the Governor of the Bank of England have done is to assure both British people, Europeans and the rest of the world that the fundamentals of the British economy will remain stable. The measures put in place to ensure that we can carry on business. And indeed, nothing changes while we're a member of the EU until the final exit. So I think there is less uncertainty than people perhaps feel. We are a week out from an historic vote and a historic result in the United Kingdom. So I think once you see politicians come together to work out how to move forward, you will see a little less uncertainty.
But there's no one actually in charge right now politically.
Well,
David Cameron is just a caretaker Prime Minister now.
The Prime Minister is still in charge and the Cabinet is still there. There's no vacuum in terms of the governance of the country. There is a question over who will succeed Mr Cameron, but in a country like Britain this is pretty normal. There are constant debates around policy and politics. I don't think anyone should feel unnerved or uncertain about this.
Is it a mistake that the UK actually held this referendum? Because as you can see the result and everything, the consequences that happened thereafter, a lot of chaos.
Well, there was clearly a democratic vote and a democratic result. I don't think you can describe it as a mistake in the sense that the Prime Minister was responding to a desire from the people of the United Kingdom to express a view on Britain's future as a country in Europe, and that is democracy.
ผลการลงประชามติ แสดงให้เห็นความคิดที่แตกต่างอย่างมากในสหราชอาณาจักรสกอตแลนด์ไอร์แลนด์เหนือและลอนดอนต่างออกเสียงให้อยู่ใน EU ต่อไปในขณะที่อังกฤษและเวลส์ต้องการให้สหราชอาณาจักรออกจาก EU มีพลเมืองอังกฤษจำนวนมากถึง 4 ล้านคนไม่เห็นด้วยกับผลประชามติและได้ยื่นคำร้องออนไลน์ขอจัดการลงประชามติรอบ 2 ในขณะที่สกอตแลนด์ได้แสดงเจตจำนงในการทำประชามติอีกครั้งในการแยกตัวจากสหราชอาณาจักรเพราะต้องการอยู่กับ EU ต่อไป
Is the United Kingdom going to break up because of this?
That, I think, is for commentators and analysts to look at, not really for me. I mean, all I can say at the moment is the United Kingdom remains the United Kingdom. Nothing changes. We are still a member of the EU until Article 50 is triggered and the negotiations are complete. I think you cannot, predict the future in any sense. So it's not really a question I think I feel able to speculate on at this point.
Scotland is saying that independence referendum again is now back on the table. Even Northern Ireland says that it might join Ireland so that they can both maintain in the EU. What do you think all about that?
Well, I've heard what the First Minister of Scotland said, and I respect her view, and I think she's standing up for what she believes the people of Scotland said. But there's a lot of uncertainty about the future of a lot of things, and I don't think at this point, a week out from the referendum, it is right or appropriate to speculate on what may or may not happen after another 2 to 2.5 years.
A lot of division in British society right now between the Remain and the Leave camp. How are you going to heal this division in society?
Well, you say division. I mean, it is an expression of different views within society.
Strongly held views.
Strongly held views, and there have been strongly held views about any number of things in the history of the United Kingdom. And I think if you look at our experience as a democratic country, we are used to having strong, passionate debate about issues we believe strongly in. I don't think that then means that you can't come together and find a common way forward.
สหราชอาณาจักรมีขนาดเศรษฐกิจใหญ่เป็นอันดับที่ 5 ของโลกแต่การออกจาก EU หมายถึงการออกจากสมาชิกของตลาดร่วมหรือ Single Market ที่ใหญ่ที่สุดในโลกบริษัทจัดอันดับความน่าเชื่อถือต่างๆปรับลดความน่าเชื่อถือของอังกฤษลงและมีกระแสข่าวออกมาว่าธนาคารและบริษัทยักษ์ใหญ่หลายแห่งกำลังพิจารณาเรื่องย้ายสำนักงานใหญ่ออกจากลอนดอนซึ่งได้ชื่อว่าเป็นศูนย์กลางการเงินของยุโรปมาโดยตลอด
Would London still be a global financial center?
I believe it will be. I mean, London is probably the world's most international global financial centre. There are a huge number of strengths around the financial services sector in London, based partly on the strength of the economy, based on our regulatory system. So I think it still has a very strong position. And I would also say that if you look at the history of the City of London, it has proved itself very adaptable, very flexible to changes in society, changes in the global economy. If you look back at some of the shocks in the 80s and the 90s, the City of London responded very quickly to create new financial instruments, to be very innovative in the way it dealt with international markets, to maintain the status of London as a global financial centre. And I think you can rely on London to apply the same sort of innovation and creativity to the current situation. So my view is that London will remain a key and important global financial centre.
Ambassador, but there are reports trickling in right now about companies planning to move their headquarters from the UK to other European countries.
Well, there are rumours, but has anybody yet moved their headquarters? So I think, let's wait and see. Again, I know people like to focus on the uncertainty, on the sort of the risky
Everyone's
stories.
Anxious.
And I think anxiety is understandable. I don't think we should deny, a week on from a historic vote, that people are uncertain and anxious about what the future might hold. I think my point is that we should be confident in ourselves, looking at our experience, looking at the strengths of the United Kingdom as a society and as an economy, that we can find a way to implement the will of the people to exit the European Union, but in a way that secures the future of Britain and is respectful and secures the future of the European Union as well.
When you talk on the global stage, for the UK, would your bargaining power become somehow lesser than before when you were part of the bigger EU?
The fact is Britain remains a permanent member of the Security Council, a member of NATO, a member of the G7 and a member of the G20. So
but no longer EU.
But no longer a member of the EU, but it still remains the world's fifth largest economy. We spend sort of substantial amount on our defence. We spend substantial amount on aid and support. So I don't think the role of the United Kingdom globally will change. That will still be our ambition to be a positive player on the global stage, to support a rules-based international system, to be a proponent for free trade, for open markets, for transparency. None of that changes whether we're in the European Union or not. That remains the position, the ambition, the aspiration of the United Kingdom.
ผลกระทบที่อาจจะเกิดขึ้นอย่างหนึ่งคือเมื่อสหราชอาณาจักรออกจาก EU ภาษาอังกฤษที่อยู่ในสถานะภาษาทางการภาษาหนึ่งของ EU ก็อาจจะสิ้นสถานะไปด้วยก็ได้
Now, if the UK actually comes out of the EU, English might no longer be one of the official languages of the European Union. So would English language somehow diminish its importance in the world stage?
I think that is a question. I think you can't set policy around what will be an important language or not. People will decide what language they want to use in business or in education. And I think English remains a strong language on the world stage, as indeed do other languages. I mean, the rise of Chinese is one. French is still an important language on the world stage. I don't think this necessarily changes English as a language for the use in business across the globe. ประเด็นสำคัญในการเจรจาของสหราชอาณาจักรกับ EU คือสหราชอาณาจักรยังคงต้องการอยู่ในตลาดร่วมของ EU แต่ต้องการจำกัดการรับผู้อพยพในขณะที่ทาง EU ประกาศว่าหากสหราชอาณาจักรจะยังอยู่ในตลาดร่วมต้องทำตามข้อกำหนดการเคลื่อนย้ายเสรีทั้ง 4 อย่างได้แก่เสรีภาพในการเคลื่อนย้ายสินค้าบริการทุนและแรงงาน
The UK is being criticized, sorry to say this, Ambassador, for being pretty picky about what it wants. It wants the best for itself, but doesn't want to live up to the other obligations. It wants to be in the single market with the other EU countries, but at the same time, doesn't really want the freedom of labor movement. Is the UK being so picky?
I would say there is obviously, as the Foreign Secretary said, there is a conflict between wanting two things which at the moment are not compatible. And as the Foreign Secretary, as the Prime Minister have said, that is a matter for the next Prime Minister and for those doing the negotiations to discuss. So I think it is right for the United Kingdom to want the best for its people. The question of what that is and what it will look like will emerge over the next 2 years.
สหราชอาณาจักรและไทยได้ดำเนินความสัมพันธ์มาอย่างต่อเนื่องเป็นเวลากว่า 4 ศตวรรษสหราชอาณาจักรเป็นประเทศคู่ค้าอันดับที่ 2 ของไทยในกลุ่มประเทศยุโรปประเทศไทยติด1 ใน 10ของประเทศที่มีนักเรียนอยู่ในสหราชอาณาจักรมากที่สุดโดยมีเยาวชนไทยกว่า 8,000 คนกำลังศึกษาในสหราชอาณาจักร
What about in terms of trade and investment ties between Thailand and the UK? If the UK actually comes out of the EU, then maybe is not as attractive as it were when it was part of the EU.
Well, I would argue, and I will be arguing that is not the case, and that we can certainly make a strong case for why the United Kingdom remains an attractive investment destination. The fact is, Britain is still the 5th largest economy in the world. We have bilateral trade worth, I think, around £5 billion with Thailand. We have a stock of investment here worth £9 billion. We have Thai citizens wanting to invest in to travel to the United Kingdom to make their homes there in the same way that we have British citizens wanting to make their homes here. So I think in terms of the big picture, although there may be some changes around the UK and its relationship to European nations, in terms of Thailand, I think we can still make a very strong case why the United Kingdom, as an outward-looking, modern, innovative nation, should be the partner of choice for Thai investors, Thai businessmen, Thai students and Thai tourists.
Would the Brexit result in any way affect Thai students studying in the UK, Thai people investing there or buying houses there at all?
No, and nothing will change immediately anyway. I think we would have to look 2 years on what the United Kingdom, what the deal is, but nothing should change for Thailand, for Thai students, for Thai investors, for Thai business people, and indeed the work of my embassy and indeed of the Thai embassy in London will be to ensure that we communicate effectively with interest groups, with business groups, with groups here in Thailand and in the UK about the opportunities for collaboration and for partnership and remind them what a strong foundation we already have in the relationship and that will continue.
For your term here in Thailand, Ambassador, what would be your biggest mission here?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because I've been discussing this with the teams in Thailand. I think for me it really is at an intellectual level trying to convey what modern Britain is and stands for. I think a lot of people have a very romantic notion of the United Kingdom built on our history, our tradition, our culture, our royal families, which is all existing, which is fantastic. But modern Britain is a very innovative country. There is much cutting-edge research going on in the United Kingdom. 4 of the world's top 10 universities are in the United Kingdom. We have strengths in creativity and innovation that I think are not fully understood outside of the United Kingdom. So, if you like, my top sort of vision here is to try and convey a sense of what the United Kingdom has going forward, a forward-looking modern country and the opportunities we can offer to those who want to partner with us.
By the way, how is your learning Thai going?
My learning Thai is peaks and troughs. I think some days are good and some days are less good. Thai is, as you all know, a very difficult language.
ยากเหรอคะ
ยากมากมาก
ยากตรงไหนคะ
ยากคิดว่าของสร้างในภาษาไทยก็ซับซ้อนมากก็เปรียบเทียบกับภาษาไทยกับภาษาจีนที่ผมพูดจีนได้คิดว่าของสร้างในภาษาไทยก็ยากกว่าภาษาจีนแม้ว่าอ่านภาษาไทยก็ง่ายกว่าแต่ต้องพยายามฝึกภาษาไทยบ่อยๆ
นี่พูดเก่งแล้วนะคะ
พูดไม่เก่ง
เนี่ย
พูดไม่เก่งรู้ว่าคุณมาร์กเป็นอดีตทำทุกก็พูดภาษาไทยเก่งมาก
ใช่ค่ะ
ผมยังเป็น beginner นะ
นี่เรียนมานานหรือยังคะ
เรียนที่ลอนดอนราวๆ5 เดือนแล้วก็หลังจากนั้นย้ายมาที่นี่ก็เรียนที่โรงเรียนภาษาพิเศษที่กรุงเทพตั้งแต่ปีหน้าจนถึงวันนี้แล้วก็ผมคิดว่าต้องเรียนต่ออีกต่อไปแม้ว่าต้องทำงานที่ทางสันติก็คิดว่าทุกวันก็เรียน1-2 ชั่วโมงถ้ามีเวลาไม่รู้มีเวลาหรือเปล่า
ขอบคุณมากค่ะท่านทูตวันนี้
ขอบคุณครับ
แม้ว่าผลของการลงประชามติครั้งนี้จะถูกตั้งคำถามว่าเป็นการตัดสินใจที่ถูกต้องหรือไม่แต่ท่านทูตเดวิดสันย้ำตลอดการสัมภาษณ์นะคะว่านี่คือการตัดสินใจตามวิถีประชาธิปไตยของอังกฤษเพราะฉะนั้นผลออกมาอย่างไรก็ต้องยอมรับและหาทางออกที่ดีที่สุดคงต้องติดตามต่อไปค่ะว่าทั้งสหราชอาณาจักรและสหภาพยุโรปจะก้าวข้ามจุดเปลี่ยนสำคัญของประวัติศาสตร์ครั้งนี้ได้อย่างไรค่ะพบกันใหม่สัปดาห์หน้าวันนี้สวัสดีค่ะ